After my Blue Love video a couple days ago, a new idea popped into my head. Something that I've done on TikTok but haven't exactly talked about on my YouTube. Creating an anime schedule for Tokyo Ghoul if it ever got a reboot. Now listen, I've been thinking about this idea since before I even started my YouTube channel, and honestly I think it'll be a great topic to cover. So, without further ado, let's get right into this. To explain exactly what I'm going to do, I'm going to pick the studio that Tokyo Ghoul should go to if it got a remake, the amount of episodes that it should get for season 1, and the amount of chapters that go into an episode of season 1 to show you how exactly Tokyo Ghoul should have went if it was done right. Now, if you like this type of content, please make sure to like and subscribe. To pick the studio, I had a couple choices. Mappa, obviously the powerhouse of today with anime, Chainsaw Man, Jujutsu Kaisen, Attack on Titan, all those heavy hitters. Then we have Chainsaw Man, another amazing anime of today with amazing animation, compositing, just looking very realistic. Then we have Vinland Saga, which is just 3 AAA titles in one studio, absolutely crazy. But yeah, we're not choosing Mappa. As much of an amazing studio that Mappa is, I just feel like there's too much on their plate for them to hold a big project like the Tokyo Ghoul remake. Because if I'm be honest, if Tokyo Ghoul got a remake, I'd want it to be very, very high quality work, and I want it to be the studio's top priority. And I just don't think if it went to Mappa, it would be Mappa's top priority. Now listen, if Tokyo Ghoul was Mappa's top priority, then I'd probably choose Mappa. But we're talking about today's image of the world. It's not going to be. There's just simply too many projects that Mappa have for Tokyo Ghoul to be the main project. The next studio that I think would be good for this would be WIT. But then again, same thing with Mappa. WIT is doing the One Piece reboot, which is completely useless, and I think WIT should never pick that trash up. But it's alright though, because the next studio after that is probably Madhouse. And I had trouble deciding between which studio out of these two that I should pick. Between Madhouse and Production IG. You're probably thinking, Production IG, what the hell? Aren't they the studio that animates all the sports anime? Yes, they are the studio that animates all the sports anime. But the thing is, recently, a couple days ago, I tuned into Heavenly Delusion. And I was blown away with Production IG's work on that anime. The amount of nice animation and compositing they gave on that anime was just brilliant. I feel like the realistic setting of the world in Heavenly Delusion would fit really well with Tokyo Ghoul. They also did really well in impact like scenes where the guy in episode 8, they did really well with driving force to impact on some of those episodes. So, you know, the anime studio that I will go with will be a collab between Madhouse Studios and Production IG Studios, which will be just a mega project of just 2 big studios going together to create this masterpiece of an anime. Now we can finally get into the episodes. One thing I forgot to mention would probably be the music. Music is the big part of an anime that, well, if it has good music, good animation, then the anime was most likely to be a hit. You know, the music really drives force how the scenes feel, you know what I'm saying, how they flow. So I feel like the music back in the old Tokyo Ghoul anime was one of the few things they actually did right. So I feel like, yeah, I think they should keep the same musicians, keep the same tracks, and just like, don't remix those songs, keep using those songs. But I think you should make new ones, you know what I'm saying? So you can like just come up to the modern day and age with the new tracks. And yeah, honestly, opening, we already know. Since Unravel has already been 10 years old, I feel like a great thing would be bringing a version 2 of Unravel back. And you know what I was thinking? It's either between Ado's cover of Unravel or the actual Unravel guy who sang it, TK, him doing another take on it, which I think will be very interesting, and I think it'll be very popular and add to the hype if Unravel just came back. You know what I'm saying? Like, it'd be like the feel of Tokyo Ghoul is back. Because without Unravel, I feel like Tokyo Ghoul would feel a little like, now, you know what I mean? But yeah, finally, we can get into the episodes. The episode count that I'll be going for would be 24 episodes. The reason I'll be going with 24 episodes is because it's going to be a first season that needs to garner hype and attention. You guys seen what happened to Chainsaw Man's growth? Because it only had 13 episodes. The season didn't hit as hard as Mappa wanted it to, which I feel Jujutsu Kaisen and Demon Slayer and Attack on Titan did very well, where Chainsaw Man failed because they had 24 episodes in their season, allowing them to get through a decent part of the story where the viewers are now hooked when it ends, and they're patiently waiting for season 2. So yeah, 24 episodes. Right off the bat, for episode 1, we're gonna have the anime throw us right into this cruel world as Rize would be chasing some man. Now, of course, we wouldn't see Rize because just like in the manga, she's covered in like some black lining. Rize will be chasing this man into an alleyway and she'd get brutally killed as the starting for the episode. Since the first episode usually has no opening, this is how we're gonna open the episode, just to put people right into that mood right from the start. Then we're gonna cut over to the cafe scene where we meet Kaneki, Hide, Toka, you know, a whole lot of shit. We learn about ghouls a little bit on the news and stuff. They have their own like conversation about ghouls. Then Rize would walk in, and when Rize would walk in, I'd like the animation to go literally like insane, showcasing how beautiful exactly she is, which she uses to her advantage. Then we'd learn about the black goat's egg, and then so we'd get to Kaneki and Rize's date. We're basically on their date. I'd want them to explore that a little bit more, what they did. I know it's shown in the manga, they went to go eat, they went to the bookstore, but I want to see what the hell they did at the bookstore. You know, I feel like they could add in some more scenes there, some more symbolism, foreshadowing to the future. But yeah, overall, we'd have Kaneki and Rize going home at night. And we know what happens here. Rize ends up betraying Kaneki, which will be a climactic scene where the music would just end up stop playing. And I feel like for this part of the episode, they need to make it very like scary. They need to make it scary, like terrifying, the fact that Kaneki's in this situation, and make Rize seem like this sort of Terminator, like chasing him down. You know what I mean? So it's like Rize would then bite him and it'll be gory. The blood would be going everywhere. I feel like Madhouse will do a great job at adapting that blood and that grit, along with Production IG's help with the graphics and just like the overall compositing and the movement, the realism of how the characters move and shit. Then, you know, obviously the steel beams ends up falling on Rize, which would be an amazing twist. And I feel like it'll have anime watchers like shocked, like what the hell's even happening in this episode? He was just on a date and now she's just getting crushed by beams. And then so anime watchers are gonna be like, what the fuck is even happening? And then I think around like 15 minutes in the episode, we're gonna have Kaneki wake up with the iconic tragedy panel. You know, in the original anime, he never even said, oh yeah, if I was the main character of a book, it'd probably end in a tragedy. He never even said that, so it'd be good to see him say that here. And I feel like it'll be an iconic moment for the first episode. But it wouldn't end there. We have Kaneki and Hide take a trip to the burger shop for the end of the episode, come back. Kaneki will realize that nothing he eats is working, like quenching his hunger. So then he'd end up being like going outside trying to eat something because he's literally going insane. And then he'd see Toka getting sexually harassed, and then Toka would end up killing that man brutally for the end of the episode, leaving it on a cliffhanger that Toka is a ghoul. Yeah, that first episode had a lot in it, and believe me, most of these episodes will. Then Toka would ask Kaneki a whole bunch of questions in episode 2, to which he'd just be way too freaked out to answer and run away in terror. For the majority of this episode, we're going to see Kaneki go through a bunch of like mental struggle as he even tries to almost kill himself, or at least take out the organs that are ghoul parts in his body so that he can go back to being a human. And you just see his overall struggle when he eventually goes back to Toka and begs her, literally on his knees, begs her to help him because, you know, she's the only other ghoul he knows at this moment. And he can't tell Hide because, you know, you never know with Hide, right? He's a human and shit. You might not support that type of shit. So yeah, he ends up begging to Toka. Toka ends up paging him, you know, telling him like, yo, how do you think I felt my entire life? You know what I mean? So then finally we get to meet the manager in this episode. And the manager ends up helping Kaneki out, telling him that coffee can quench a ghoul's hunger as well. In which Kaneki's next mission for the episode is to go get some fucking coffee. Right? This will be a kind of like insanity kind of episode in the beginning part, but then it'll get calmed down a little bit to where he gets his, where he goes and gets some coffee. So then when he's in the coffee shop, we get our first sighting of animated Nishio also picking up a bunch of coffee. And so Kaneki would hop out the coffee store, and we already know what happens, where he smells something finally that tastes good as hell, like mom's home cooking, you know what I mean? So he ends up running towards it, blind as hell. The music will be ramping up, and then as soon as he gets there, boom, the music would then again play like a dark tune where Kaneki comes to the realization that this dude was attracted by the stench of a dead body. I think this would be a powerful scene in the anime where it's just gonna be like, wow, what the fuck is even happening right now? You know what I'm saying? Then this guy Kaneki would be like, what the fuck is going on? he start freaking out. And then the ghoul will actually offer Kaneki some of the food. You know, it was kind of surprising when I seen that. The ghoul offered Kaneki some of the food. But then, unfortunately, the ghoul gets fucking killed by Nishiki, who says, oh yeah, you're eating on my eating ground. You're dead. Then he goes to go kill Kaneki too, because he's also on the eating ground, and he smells a lot like Rize. Right when he's about to kill Kaneki, though, Toka jumps in, attacks Nishiki, and tells him, yo, fuck off, or I'm going to beat your ass. Nishiki then runs away. He basically fucks off. And then also, we're going to have to see Toka actually try to, she's going to try and help Kaneki now. Now that she knows the full story about what happened to him, she's going to actually try and help him. So she rips off an arm and is about to feed him. But Kaneki's like, fuck that shit. I don't want none of that shit. I'm not eating nothing. So what she does is she shoves the arm into his mouth as the episode ends. Kaneki still doesn't eat that shit as he yells at them. He's like, I'm not like you monsters. And the episode will end on that dramatic point right there where Kaneki just basically, like, he just explodes with what he's feeling at the moment. Like, I'm not a monster. I don't want to be a monster like you guys. But he's forced to be one now. You know what I mean? So yeah, episode 2 would end right there. And I feel like this episode would be fucking great. Just like episode 1. Episode 3 would be a great episode as we'd see Toka immediately cheese from the comments Kaneki had last chapter and literally beat the shit out of him after that. And tell him basically, yeah, you know what? Since you're not either, fuck you. You don't belong anywhere. Fuck off. You know what I'm saying? Kaneki then thinks about this shit. He's like, yeah, I'm alone in this fucking world. Yada, yada. The next day, we see Kaneki with Hide again. So it seems that he made a fucking decision to go back to college. And then so Hide, has to pick up some shit from another guy called Nishiki, who we find out is the ghoul from last night that Kaneki met. And it's going to be a very interesting episode where Kaneki knows Nishiki is a ghoul, but Hide doesn't know shit. So it's like a back and forth where Kaneki's like, bro, am I going to have to protect Hide here? Like, what the hell? He might try eating his ass. So Kaneki ends up going with them to go back to Nishiki's crib to pick something up. But Nishiki ends up ambushing them and kicking Hide to the curb. Now, this is when the crazy stuff in the episode happens because Nishiki's threatening to eat Kaneki or kill Kaneki and eat Hide. You know what I'm saying? Which would absolutely destroy Kaneki's, only friend. And Kaneki gets cheese. He's like, fuck, I need to protect Hide. So he starts fighting and gets his ass whooped. And the animation in this episode will also be beautiful, as it always is. It'll be fucking beautiful as Kaneki just getting his ass whooped. He's not able to do anything until we'd get that one speech in chapter 8 of Tokyo Ghoul, where it shows the bird struggles out the egg. The egg is the world. Once the bird comes out that egg, a world will be destroyed. Oh my gosh, we'll get that sequence in this episode, which would literally move mountains as we get Kaneki's first Kagane activation and his absolute rage as he looks toward Nishio and he's like, I won't let Hide die. Oh my gosh. See, the anime did animate this moment, but the problem is they didn't really indicate Kaneki's rage as well. They made it kind of like an edgy, don't touch Hide, dude. I think if I was to direct this scene, I would make Kaneki's this whole panel just black and white while it's moving. You guys know how they did that with Adult Gone? Black and white, bro. Just straight black and white images and Kaneki's mouth moving to show how really cheesed he is, It's like it takes the color out of the screen. That's how mad he is, what I'm saying? The only color we see on the screen is his pupil, like his ghoul eye. And the Kagane coming up, you know what I'm saying? So then the rest of the episode, we have the insane fight with crazy Sakuga of Kaneki and Nishio fighting. And it's going to be brutal when Kaneki stabs and runs Nishio right through and then slams him across the freaking spot. It's going to show also the destruction all over the place. And Hide's face obviously bleeding from getting his face stomped on and puked on. It's going to be disgusting. But then there's going to be another twist where this episode's going to go into the ending. Kind of similar to last episode, where it's going to be a twist and how Kaneki's going to then start seeing Hide as food, which will fool a lot of anime watchers saying like, yo, no way he kills him. No way he kills him after protecting him after all this time. And Kaneki's going to see him as food, but then, whoop-de-woo, Toka pulls up. After Toka pulls up, she's about to activate her. She's about to fight Kaneki, and Berserker Kaneki's about to fight Toka. And they're like, yo, you know what? Toka starts to activate her Kagane while Kaneki starts charging at her. And that's exactly where the episode will end. this episode will be fucking peak. Amazing writing, amazing storytelling, amazing direction, if I directed it, and like just like amazing emotion, and OST in this would go booming while he enters that mode, like his berserker state. I'm really gonna do a good job of emphasizing that. Like, hey, he's mad, and it's not like a edgy, like, oh, don't touch my friend. It's more like a don't fucking, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, get the hell away from him or I'm gonna kill your ass. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, it doesn't push off the edgy feel that I feel like the anime kind of did, where it's like, oh man, look at this guy. He's literally gliding on his Kagane, something he never did in the manga, which is just bullshit. At the end of the day, that's just bullshit to me. But yeah, this episode will be absolute peak. Episode 4 would start off with Kaneki waking up after his battle with Toka and just that whole scene where he went berserk against Nishiki. Now, he'd have this conversation with Yoshimura about he doesn't belong anywhere and that he's sad that he's alone and shit. But Yoshimura would tell him that because he's everything in this world, a ghoul and a human, that he belongs in both places. You know what I'm saying? He's the only person that belongs in both spots. You know what I'm saying? So, like, yeah, I feel like it'll be a good character development moment for Kaneki. Well, he hasn't developed yet, but it's a good moment for him to actually, like, realize, like, oh, shit, you know what? Maybe I should look at it that way. But yeah, the episode keeps going, and we end up meeting Hinami. Hinami and her mom. Kaneki then realizes his perspective's starting to change in this episode, where usually he thinks of these guys as monsters until he sees two ghouls here that literally can't hunt. They're too fucking weak to hunt, so they use other people to hunt for them. You know what I mean? To get their food for them. And so basically the reason they're at Onteku now is that Hinami's dad just got fucking killed and they had to move away, you know what I'm saying, and chill at Onteku for a little bit so that they could regroup and then move out for a little bit later. In this episode, we also get introduced to the dubs. CCG, we get introduced to Amon and Mato, which would be really fucking interesting to see the fans' reactions to these guys. I already know Amon's going to have a lot of simps for him, but yeah. This episode's also going to keep going as we finally get to see Onteku basically eats because they're all ghouls and shit. We're going to get to see how they eat. And they basically go to the graveyard and get the bodies of, like, just suicided, like, victims and shit, you know? People who just killed themselves, they eat their flesh. So, I mean, it's not really that unmoral because they're killing people that willingly just killed each other. I mean, they're eating people that willingly just killed each other. You know what I'm saying? And then so that we also find out that Ryoko's visiting Hinami's dad's grave, which ends up being a bad thing at the end of the episode where Amon actually goes to go dig up the Hinami's dad's grave. He actually goes to go dig that shit up because he then finds a mask, and then him finding that mask finds out, okay, you know what, the guy I just killed was related to the person that just visited his grave. You know what I'm saying? So the episode will end off right there, and this episode will be kind of like a chill episode, you know, one that you just like sit back, relax, and watch. It won't be a crazy episode like last episode, but it'll just be a, you know, like a cool down episode. The episode would start out with the CCG, you know, looking at Amon's proof that the one who visited the grave last night is a ghoul, and you know they start to take their action as we cut back over to Kaneki, you know what I'm saying, in the cafe and shit, just chilling. And then he'd actually go and try and like ask Hinami something. Her door's going to be closed because she's going to be eating. He's going to walk in on her eating and he's going to get terrified. But you know what I'm saying? Like, this really shows how his perspective on ghouls is slowly changing. Hinami really helps that out because as he walks right into the room, you know, for the second time, you know what I'm saying? He actually like treats Hinami as a normal like human child. You know what I'm saying? Like, he doesn't treat her as a monster. Like, he sees her as a normal human child and he actually teaches her how to read and shit, and they develop like a bond, you know. This is like his first positive bond with a ghoul that he's met, you know what I'm saying? And she's like younger than him and everything, so it's like he actually views her as a normal like person, not like a monster, you know what I'm saying? So then after that, Hinami's mother decides that, yeah, you know, we can't be leeching off on Teku forever, we're gonna cut, you know what I'm saying? So they cut from the shop, and it's a rainy day, you know what I'm saying? Her and Hinami leave the shop, and this is when the craziest fucking shit's gonna happen. Where it starts to rain, Hinami's mother finds out they're getting tailed. She gets backed into an alleyway, protects Hinami, tells her to run and go find some help. Tells her to go run. Hinami doesn't run, but she goes to go find some help. She finds Kaneki. They make their way back to the alleyway where Hinami's mother is surrounded by CCG officers. And she gets fucking beheaded right in front of her daughter and Kaneki. This moment would be one of the most dramatic moments in the season so far because it would just have sheer impact on how in this world, like, it's so easy for someone to die. You know what I'm saying? It's so easy for one of your relatives to die and shit. Like, a lot of people are orphans and shit because of ghouls, but a lot of ghouls might also be orphans because of humans. So it's like the duality is crazy. You know what I'm saying? It could go both ways on almost every level. You know what I'm saying? And then so basically we get the shower scene where Kaneki's just showering. He's like, fuck, bro, I couldn't do anything about that. It'll just be like a really dim and gloomy episode. You know what I'm saying? And then after that, at the end of the episode, we're going to finally see Toka hearing about the news. And Yoshimaru tells Toka not to slide. Everyone tells her not to slide. Don't slide. Don't get back. Who gives a fuck? But Toka, she's a fucking hothead. So at the end of the episode, we're going to see her put on that hoodie. And she's going to have her eyes glowing and shit. She'll be like, all right, yo, you know what? I'm going to get your get back for you. Fuck that shit. The episode's going to end right there on a cliffhanger. I feel like similar to last episode, I should have this episode literally fucking contrast the last episode I just did. Because you know how in the beginning I showed Kaneki build a bond with the ghouls and then take that shit away right away. It should be the same thing where when Amon builds a bond with these two other CCG investigators that are inspired by him and want to be great because of him, you know what I'm saying? It's going to be just like that. And then he leaves and then Toka fucking kills one of them. It's going to be the same fucking thing as when Ryoko got killed by the CCG investigators. And it's going to be insane Sakuga in this fight, obviously. How Toka's just moving and everything about her Kagane and shit. How she attacks Amon and all that. The music will be booming. Mado's going to pull up, attack her. She's going to flee. So it's really going to show you, like, it's going to push forth that concept of, like, bro, like, give one, take one. You know what I mean? It's like the ghouls and the humans are at war because none of them can let go. You know what I'm saying? Everyone takes from each other. You know what I'm saying? So it's just a continuous just take. You know what I'm saying? Everyone just has a whole bunch of hate in their heart. So yeah, we're going to cut back to the cafe where Toka's going to get caught for sliding, even though she was told not to. Kaneki's going to get some more character development, where this is going to be the first time where he actually cares about a ghoul. Or the second time, other than Hinami, but he's gonna be the first time where he sees Toka just like in pain. He's like, you know what? Like, after seeing what happened to Hinami's mom, I want to get stronger, bro. Teach me how to get fucking stronger. You know what I'm saying? So then after that, yeah, the episode's gonna keep going, and we're gonna get to see Kaneki get his mask for the first time in this episode. We're also gonna get to see Uta and just the whole mask shop and all that shit. But yeah, now this mask is fucking sick. If you say this mask isn't sick, I don't know what the fuck to tell you, because this mask is fucking him, right? So the episode's going to end right when he gets his mask, and I think we know what happens next episode. Now, this episode, episode 7, would probably be another chill episode where, you know, we're just getting to know the characters more, and we get to know Amon's ideology a little bit more. Also, we get to see Kaneki training, you know, with Toka and shit. You know, it's just a little chill episode, but it's basically the calm before the storm, because this episode ends right when Hinami leaves the cafe at night. And you know, if you read the manga, you already know what happens after she leaves the cafe at night. And so the next episode is going to be fucking crazy. But yeah, episode 7 is basically just like a chill episode, whole bunch of talking. And you know, there's also that one scene where Toka and Kaneki, you know, they dress up, go to CCG, ask the CCG investigator about like ghouls and all that shit, try and feed them like fake information so they just get off Hinami's tail, you know, so they don't hunt her just like they hunt her mom and dad. And then also there's going to be that one scene where Mado, you know, tries dragging Kaneki through the gate. And it's going to drag a whole lot of questions about plot holes. People are like, oh, what the fuck? Anime owners going to be like, what the fuck? This is a plot hole, bro. Like, he just went through the RC gate and nothing came out, even though he's a ghoul. This is crazy plot armor, you know what I'm saying? But they don't fucking know. They don't fucking know yet. Anyways, on to episode 8. Now, the episode 8, though, however, will be a fucking banger again, as Hinami runs away from home, and you know the episode's gonna kick off straight away with just chaos. How, you know, Toka and Kaneki's like, yo, fucking push it, find her, you know, where the hell could she be? And then the music would stop when Toka would find Hinami, you know what I'm saying? It'll be all like dramatic, then it'll just cut to silence as she'd find Hinami, and they'd have their touching moment, you know, where Hinami just wanted to be with her mother again, but she got fucking baited. Her and Toka just got baited, as Mado would appear right behind them. In this dead silence, I feel like just hearing the sound of the rain drop on the floor is more dramatic than having music in this scene. That's how crazy this panel is drawn of Mado. Look how fucking menacing he is. You know what I'm saying? So the fighting's gonna start and shit. And then also we're gonna get to see Kaneki intercept Amon from going to go help Mato fight Toka and Hinami. And we're gonna get to see Kaneki finally fucking using his strength to protect ghouls. Who would have thought this guy who got turned into a monster told Toka, I'm not nothing like you monsters. Fuck away from me. Is now 8 episodes later protecting ghouls, bro. The character development here is fucking insane. In just 8 episodes too. But anyways, the fighting's gonna start. The soccer is gonna look amazing. You know what I'm saying? Kaneki's gonna be wondering, like, he's gonna see Amon's like philosophy on ghouls and how the world should be, and he's gonna know that's wrong. But he's like, why can't Amon understand the way I do? And then Kaneki's gonna realize Amon can't understand the way I can. Toka can't understand the way I can either. Because they're not both. I'm the only person in this planet who can understand both human and ghoul. I'm the chosen one. Bro, this scene will be fucking insane as the art was spazzing on this scene in the manga. We see Kaneki get up off the floor. You know what I'm saying? The rain effects is going to be crazy in the anime with the Sakuga also going crazy. You know what I'm saying? Kaneki's finally going to be taking that step, that leap. He's going to develop greatly as a character where he's going to be like, you know what? Fuck it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I find out where I belong now. You know what I'm saying? I'm not just alone in this world. I'm the only person who can see the differences between ghouls and humans. I'm the one who can put an end to this shit. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, the episode's going to continue with Mato and Toka fighting Hinami. And bro, Hinami and Toka fighting Mato. And bro, it's going to be just a dreadful scene where the Sakuga's going to go amazing and the music's going to be going crazy until we find out that Mato's the one using Hinami and her dad against her. Now that's some disrespectful ass shit if you ask me. That's like literally using someone, let's say you kill someone's dad, right? And then their son comes after you trying to kill you. And you rip their dad's like spinal cord out. You turn that shit into a sword and use it against his son. Now that's fucked up. That is fucked up right there. All right? But that's what this world is, though. That's literally pushing forth the fact that, yes, this world is all types of fucked up. Anyways, episode 8 would be a fucking banger with music, animation, character development. Just crazy. And episode 9 will be even better. Episode 9 will be a fucking beautiful episode as a developed Kaneki fights against Amon to awaken his Kagane, and he just fights back against those urges of, hunger. He finally understands where Rize was coming from, where he's like, yo, she just ate, and killed, because he knows what it's like to be a ghoul now. He's like, yo, it's super easy to get lost in this hunger, you know what I'm saying? So he finally awakens his Kagane in the animation in the rain. I can't stress enough how much I want the Sakuga animation to be crazy. I want slow-mo. I want angles. I want choreography. I want all that shit. Compositing. I want that shit to go crazy. And I know when he awakens that Kagane for the first time, I want that animation to spaz out. But anyways, during this, we're also going to cut over to the Toka Hinami versus Mato fight, where, Hinami's going to be, like, that fight's going to have crazy choreography, too, and it's going to have crazy effects and compositing, along with Hinami awakening her Kagane, you know what I'm saying? We're going to be the first time seeing her awaken her Kagane. It's going to be a really emotional scene where she actually breaks down. She's like, I don't want any of this. Like, I don't want to kill anyone. I don't want to do this. I just want to be together with my mom and dad, you know what I'm saying? Like, I just want to be with those two, you know what I'm saying? So she's basically saying, like, yo, I'm lonely. Like, I want to die, you know what I'm saying? I want to go with my mom and dad again. But basically, Mato, we see how fucked up he is. Like, it's really crazy how in this arc, the humans are really recognized as the monsters. Like, we are really, like, characterized to the ghouls in the beginning, how, yeah, the ghouls are fucking monsters, because we're going from the perspective of Kaneki. Like, yo, ghouls are bad, humans are good. But as soon as he becomes both, he sees both sides of the spectrum. And then in this spectrum in particular, we see Mato as this fucking beast, like this freaking monster, you know what I'm saying? Hunting Toka and Hinami. But anyways, we see Mato get packed up by Toka, and, everyone meets up, and Kaneki gets his emotional ass moment when he fights Amon, where the rain, I feel like in this scene, same thing as last one, where the music would just, like, it'll be going, and then it'd stop. As the rain would slow-mo and the background behind him would turn white, he'd start crying, and all you hear was like that sound of his tears and him snorting. He'd be like, please don't make me kill someone. You know what I'm saying? Like, that would be an impactful ass fucking scene, like, if they did it like that. Tell me to direct this shit. I'll go fucking crazy. Anyways, it'll be an impactful ass scene where Amon's actually gonna realize, be like, yo, this is the first time I've seen a ghoul do this shit for me. Like, what the fuck? Like, yo, am I living in the Matrix? So anyways, the fight's gonna be over. Model's gonna be dead. And then the episode's gonna end on a very, like, nice note where, well, not a very nice note, but, like, a nice note where Amon's gonna be holding Model's body, screaming. He's be like, no, I don't want this shit to fucking happen. You know, if I was earlier, I could have helped him out and shit. But that guy let me live and shit, you know what I'm saying? And then Kaneki's gonna be in his head, be like, yo, like, this isn't how the way the world should be, you know what I'm saying? And he'd ultimately come to his conclusion about the world for the very first time. And he'd be like, you know what? This world is wrong. You know what I'm saying? The world is wrong. And he'd come to that same conclusion that Amon had in the beginning of this arc, at the end of this arc, which shows their parallel about everything. Like, they parallel almost everything in the whole show. But yeah, nah, bro. This episode 8 and episode 7 are fucking peak. This arc would come to an end right here. After that banger of an episode 9, episode 10 would be more of a chill episode where we start off with basically Amon and the whole CCG gathering together, discussing what happened in the last operation and the recent investigator's death, Mato. We're going to get to see Mato and Amon's backstory, where, like, the first time they met, the first time they hunted a ghoul, and all the things that Mato really taught Amon and how much he actually meant to Amon as a mentor, you know, as a sensei and all that shit. The episode's then going to go about halfway, and we're going to switch to Kaneki's perspective, where he's just going to be chilling with Hide, you know what I'm saying, talking about random stuff in college and shit. It's not random stuff, but really in this review, I'm not going to be going in depth. So yeah. Anyways, for the rest of the episode, we're going to get to see Yorgo, a new character introduced, who's basically like the Hide in Toka's life. You know what I'm saying? We did not know Toka had, like, another human in her life, like Kaneki did up till this point, which is pretty important because Toka tries to blend in really well with human society, but her friend is the one that's, like, she basically, like, feeds her human food, and Toka eats it anyways, you know what I'm saying? One, probably not to bust her cover, and two, probably because she, like, you know, she's nice to her friend. Like, she wants to eat the food that her friend made for her, like, because her friend cared for her, and she realizes that. So she eats her food, even if it's not good for her, you know what I mean? So yeah, Toka, like, she really gets characterized more as an endearing person and someone who actually cares about her human friends and shit, even though they're human and don't know anything about her. But yeah, like, it's just like, it'll be a wholesome episode until we get to the ending, where we get introduced to Tokyo Ghoul's Hisoka, Shu Tsukiyama. He's going to be introduced right away as we see him inside of a woman's house. And then that woman's going to be walking the same streets with her eyeballs gone. After we see her eyeballs gone, Shu's going to then appear on Teiku and meet Kaneki. For the anime, I want Tsukiyama to be really like a very mysterious figure. I feel like he should be like a thing where all, like, the mysterious, like, kind of scary, like, eerie vibe of Tokyo Ghoul comes from. Because he's just like a crazy, like, pedophile. You know what I mean? Like, he should get, like, that pedophile, that, you know, just that creeper, like, vibe in the anime. That would be really interesting for him. I feel like that vibe for him would be very good. Also, I feel like his theme should be more like a Spanish OST or something like that. Because I don't know, whenever I see Shu, he just strikes me as one of those, like, you know, those stylish, glamorous motherfuckers in anime. So yeah, I feel like that's how it should be. Anyways, the episode will end with Shu at his house again, thinking about Kaneki and eating her eyeballs. So the episode starts off with Shu and Kaneki's conversation at college, where they're basically talking about books, and basically we find out that Shu actually has a relationship with Rize before she died. And so we kind of get a hint on why he's on to Kaneki for some reason. Now, after their conversation, Kaneki ends up going to a new cafe with Yomo, Hitori, and Uta. Basically, we get to learn a lot more about them and their whole lore, and that fact that they used to run the 6th ward. But the really big, interesting part of this episode will be the fact that we learn a lot more about ghouls in particular. We learn a lot more that ghouls and humans can actually have a child, and the big selling point of this is that we learn that Kaneki's whole accident might not be an accident, which would be kind of big for anime onlys. I feel like that would generate a little bit of discussion, be like, what the fuck? Wait, that wasn't an accident? Because in the anime, it's not really explained if that was an accident or not. So people are just wondering like, oh yeah, that should just happen. You know what I'm saying? When in reality, they don't know anything about the Dr. Kano shit. But yeah, basically, that'll be a big discussion around the community where Kaneki's shit wasn't an accident, it actually happened on purpose. And then so Hitori would ask, Kaneki, if you want more information, you got to do something for me. Go to Shusukiyama's Ghoul restaurant and find out more information for me. We also learn more about the One-Eyed King. This is the first mention we ever have of the One-Eyed King in the entire story, so it's kind of a big deal. If you guys have read Tokyo Ghoul, you know how big the One-Eyed King generally is in this story. So yeah, that's where episode 11 will end, where Kaneki basically wants to go get information. But there'll be one last thing before the end, where Kaneki would basically pass by an alleyway, and Nishio would begin his ass whoop. Kind of be his reintroduction into the story, where he began his ass whooped and Kaneki would actually save him, showcasing more of Kaneki's development and how he's actually not that weak anymore and he's actually kind of strong. He beats up a bunch of ghouls, saves Nishio, even though Nishio was the guy who did all that horrible stuff to him and Hide. And we find out that Nishio actually has a human girlfriend. Episode 12 will start off with Kaneki actually starting to build a better relationship with Shu, so that he could get into the next restaurant that Shu is in, because Hitori will give him information if he gets information on that restaurant. Now, Shu ends up inviting him to the restaurant, actually, and we actually get to see a little bit more because Kaneki and Shu visit some sort of restaurant before they go to Shu's restaurant, and we actually get to see the scene where Kaneki's hand gets cut by a piece of glass. Shu grabs the napkin that has Kaneki's blood on it, goes to the washroom and does some pretty questionable stuff. But I really want to drive home his insanity for this in this episode. I want to drive home Shu while he's in that washroom, that specific scene. I want to show how insane this guy is, where he puts the napkin on his nose and is smelling it and just going absolutely insane, where he can just lose his composure just in a blink of an eye. You know what I'm saying? Just in a blink of an eye, he can lose his composure just like that. But anyway, Shu will go back out and basically bring Kaneki to the Ghoul restaurant. As Kaneki will be in the Ghoul restaurant, we already know he gets tricked, and basically all the humans who are brought there end up getting put inside of an arena where ghouls could bid for them, and the scrapper will kill them and give their meat to the guy who bids the most. Basically a human auction, which is fucking crazy. This dude Kaneki then after that is paired up with 3 other people who end up having to fight this giant ghoul with a weapon. And so Kaneki, basically, I want to drive home in the scene how scared he should be, because this is just a very terrifying situation. And honestly, if a regular human like Kaneki, who's never been in any of these situations, I want to see, I want to really push forth in this episode how scared he'd be. I also want the animation to go absolutely insane, as whenever someone gets killed, I want it to be very brutal. I want it to be dark. I want this shit to be, literally, brutal as shit. Whenever someone gets stomped on, cut, I want the blood to be splattering and just everywhere. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if it'll be able to be going on TV, but it would just be a crazy episode with crazy Sokka and animation. And the music where Kaneki's actually finally ready to fight back against this guy, where he awakens his eye and tries to go fight against the scrapper, would be actually a great scene at the end of the episode, where Kaneki would awaken his eye and attack the scrapper, and Shu would actually go in to take out the scrapper himself, because he realizes that Kaneki is a rare breed of ghoul, a rare breed that he himself alone would want to eat. And that's exactly where the episode would end, where we'd be on a cliffhanger where bro, what the fuck's gonna happen to Kaneki next? You know what I'm saying? So yeah, episode 13 would be titled The Gourmet, as this arc would finally start to heat up. And basically, we'd start out with Kaneki waking up in Anteku after having a terrible dream. And we find out that this dude is actually fucking terrified of Shu. Reasonably so. If anyone was in that situation, they would be terrified as well. Anyways, Kaneki gets called by Kimi. He goes outside to go meet her. And so Kimi tells Kaneki about Nishiki's situation and that he's not healing after his stomach wound, and that she actually needs some help from him to get some coffee or something. But anyways, Kaneki says, all right. He leaves for a moment. And then we find out Kimi gets fucking captured by Tsukiyama. And Tsukiyama leaves a note where he's going to be. And to come help her, Kaneki needs to go right there. Kaneki ends up bringing Nishio with him because Nishio begs him to. And so Kaneki and Nishio end up going to this church to go save Kimi. Now, here's where this shit gets interesting, because Tsukiyama's whole plan to have Kaneki to himself is have Kaneki eat Kimi while Tsukiyama eats Kaneki, which is probably one of the most fucked up shit I've ever seen in this whole like series so far. Because this dude Tsukiyama is really driving home how freaking insane this guy is. But aside from being insane, we're gonna see some great choreography with him and Nishiki and Kaneki fighting, as he just like kind of rips them into shreds, like beats their ass quite easily. And we're gonna get to see how skilled of a fighter Shu actually is. Like, even though he's a weirdo, even though he's a creep, he's actually can fight. You know what I'm saying? He's not just some weakling, until we see Toka come in with her cold ass entrance, slitting Shu's eyes wide open as they would start to bang out. And we actually get some more history that they know each other after they start fighting. And Shu, you know, at first Toka would have the upper hand, but then Shu would beat Shu and end up beating her, saying that she's not as strong as she was back then because she hasn't been eating properly. You know, Toka hasn't been eating like meat. She's been eating regular human food, which is making her weaker, which is why Tsukiyama is able to beat her in this moment and end up activating his Kagane for the end of the episode. I feel like this episode should also have some great music. Great, just animation whenever they're punching, kicking. The choreography should be great. I feel like the choreography in Tokyo-Ghoul's like manga is very good. I think Ishida symbolizes movement very well. Although some of the panels could be hard to track. But yeah, I feel like this episode should be peak. Episode 14, however, will be one of the most beautiful episodes of Tokyo Ghoul again, as we'd have the fight continue between Shu, Toka, Kaneki, and Nishiki, as basically Nishiki would see that scar that he ended up putting on Kimi, and it would trigger the flashback of Nishiki. You know what I'm saying? We get to see his whole backstory and how he met Kimi and how his sister died, and his whole theme of just trust in general. You know what I'm saying? I feel like it's a very hard-hitting backstory, especially with what you see him do after that, whereas he goes after Tsukiyama indirectly and just won't go down. You know, you get to see how far Nishiki actually goes for someone that's not even a ghoul. You know what I'm saying? He says like, yo, like he says he loves Kimi so much that he wouldn't even mind being betrayed by her at this point, which is like, you know, like, it's just crazy. Like, it's a beautiful moment where this dude just trying his hardest while he's getting his ass whooped just to protect the one person he loves and shit. It's just a beautiful moment. I feel like the music would accentuate this. The gore would be fucking crazy though. And I feel like the audience will really get pushed forth that, bro, like, ghoul human connection is actually like, that could actually be plausible in this arc, as we see between characters like Kaneki with Hide, characters like Toka with Yoriko, and characters like Nishiki with Kimi. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, anyways, this episode we keep going on as Nishiki's basically buying time for Toka and Kaneki to come up with a plan. They're gonna end up coming up with a plan that Toka, you know, she's gonna unleash her Kagane, eat a little bit of Kaneki's flesh because he is part human, and be able to take out Tsukiyama. Basically, that's exactly what they do, and we're gonna get that peak panel of Toka unlocking her Kagane as the music and animation will go crazy. As Toka says, nothing here belongs here to you. It's gonna be fucking insane as she's gonna be gliding all over the place with her beautiful Kagane. Choreography is gonna go insane. It's gonna be in slow-mo sometimes. The compositing is gonna be crazy. I feel like this episode will be peak all the way through as she ends up defeating Tsukiyama. And you know what I'm saying? We're gonna get to see Kimi actually call Toka's Kagane in her ghoul form basically beautiful. Which is, you know, Toka's gonna be like, it's not beautiful, because you already know Toka wants to live a regular human life. And it's her ghoul genes and her ghoul-like form that basically ended up making her live this life of being enchained like a bird. You know what I'm saying? So basically, she doesn't like the fact that she's a ghoul. And so, yeah, like, it's going to be a very beautiful episode. We're going to have crazy fights, crazy backstory, crazy emotional moments. Like, it'll just be a fucking peak episode altogether. Episode 14, Tokyo Ghoul, will be peak. Episode 15 will basically be us starting out with Rize's whole backstory. I feel like that should take up half the episode, where we actually get to learn more about the person that died in the first episode and just how important and, you know, how they actually were, you know, like, important to the plot and just more about them. You know what I'm saying? And so, basically, we're going to get to see half the episode of just Rize and her backstory and where she came from before she eventually met Kaneki and the gang. So then the next half will basically be, you know, Kaneki. We're going to get to see our new characters. Nishio's end up going to join on Teiku. And so we're gonna see new characters like Juzo, Shinohara, and Takizawa. Now Juzo and Juzo especially, we're gonna get to see how deranged he is. It's almost like every character in this series is deranged, but I feel like Juzo in the whole dark world of Tokyo Ghoul is a very dark character, but he's like the light in the dark world. You know what I mean? Like he's like a very like comedic. I feel like in the anime he should be strung across as like a carefree, just comedic type character, where every character is just kind of like depressed and just like serious all the time. Where he's just gonna be more like a I don't give a fuck. You know what I'm saying? Like just chilling around, hopping around, like killing people. He doesn't care. You know what I'm saying? More like a comedic relief, like a happier character until we learn about his backstory and shit. But yeah. Basically, Juzo will be introduced in this episode. Not much will be happening in episode 15. It's just Rize's backstory and new characters being introduced. Episode 16 will probably be a great episode too, as we'd finally get our introduction into the Aogiri tree arc. And so basically we get introduced to characters like Banjo, Ayato, and Yamari, obviously the demon, when they raid the coffee shop and end up capturing Kaneki. I feel like this scene should be also very brutal. Like in the manga, it was just like, like 2-3 fucking... It was like a chapter or so. But I feel like this scene in the anime, they should make Yammer just like beat the shit out of Kaneki before he takes him. Like how they did in the other anime. But like this one, they should be like there's more brutal and just better, animation and everything. But yeah, it should be like a bad beating in the anime where they capture Kaneki and just take him. But yeah, this episode 16 will be mostly consisted of Aogiri Tree just raiding on Teiku, and we're gonna learn more about how Banjo actually wants to see Rize. Like all these people want someone who smells like Rize, which is gonna add a whole lot of mystery to the plot. Like, bro, why is everyone after Rize? Literally everybody's after Rize right now. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, in episode 17, we'd also learn a lot about Tokyo Ghoul as a whole, just as RC cells, which were left completely out of the original anime, are actually in this anime. And we get to learn a lot more about RC cells, cognés, how they're made, you know what I'm saying? All this shit that we didn't learn in the original anime, where we finally actually come back to the Aogiri tree and their hideout, and so we get to meet a whole lot of people: Ayato, the Bin Bros, Jason, Tatara, Eto. We get to see all these characters for the first time animated, and so we're basically gonna get that scene where Tatara stabs Kaneki and tells him, you know what, we don't fucking need this guy. You know what I'm saying? We don't need him. Anyone can do whatever they want with him. And so that will lead to Kaneki being jailed again and meeting Banjo again, where they finally schedule an escape plan. The episode would end with the CCG end up, talking with each other and shit. And basically, we get to find out that the Aogiri Tree, the terrorist ghoul group that we've been seeing for the last episode and this episode, are actually going to go to war with the CCG in the next couple episodes, which will be pretty hype for anime onlys. I know this happened in the original anime, but this one is going to be a better large-scale battle with not much skipped shit, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, this arc is going to be insane in the anime. Episode 18 would start out with basically, we'd get to some CCG stuff about Queen K's, and Juzo would basically learn that, if you perform well in these battles, you can actually get a Ghoul's Kakuho and take it and make a Queen K for yourself, which is what Juzo's one of his goals are right now, where he just wants a Queen K he could fight with. And so he hears about Jason and all this other shit. So yeah, the CCG are basically preparing to launch their attack on the 11th Ward Aogiri Tree. As we cut back to Aogiri Tree and we find out how they treat basically all their slaves and shit. You know what I'm saying? How they treat them and how Yamari actually works and shit. Basically, Banjo, Kaneki, and their group end up formulating a plan where they can all escape. You know what I'm saying? They can all just escape and this one day where everyone's out the hideout and they can just leave. You know what I'm saying? So the plan ends up following through, and so it doesn't fucking work. It just doesn't work. Kaneki ends up staying back to defend against the Bin Bros because the Bin Bros find out that they're escaping, and so he lets other people escape. Although Kaneki's staying back, it still doesn't work. As we get some crazy Sakuga and nice animation with them fighting and trading their Kagines, it still wouldn't be enough, as Jason would walk in with the heads of two of the people that tried escaping, which will be just like horrifying for everyone. And it'll be very despair-inducing because this will lead to Kaneki being like, you know what? Like, Jason ends up making a deal with him. He's like, you know what? If you come with me, I'll let all these guys escape. As we know, Kaneki's self-sacrificial nature to save everyone, he ends up going with Jason. And so the episode would be fucked right there, as we all know what's happening next. Also, we'd cut back over to Anteku for the end of the episode, figuring out just what they're going to do now that Kaneki's captured. And so we're going to find out that they're actually going to like help him. You know what I'm saying? Like Shu's coming to help him. Everyone's coming to help him. They're going to form a super team to go in there, rescue Kaneki, and get out. So yeah, it's going to be hype where all three parties are going to be, you know what I'm saying, like getting ready to fight. And Kaneki's going to have his own problems ahead of him as he just went with Jason. And yeah, that's what episode 18 is going to end. Now, episode 19 would be the best episode that airs that year. I don't care. I do not care what anyone says. This episode will be absolute peak fiction. As we'd have this bro, Juzo, you know, start the march for the CCG. This episode's not going to have any opening or ending in it. It's going to be a full 24 minutes of anime. And what's basically going to happen is we're going to have Juzo just go, you know what I'm saying, like help all the CCG investigators get inside the Aogiri building, and the war is going to end up starting, where basically it's going to be hype. But then we're going to cut over to Kaneki for the rest of the episode, showcasing his just breakdown by Jason. Fingers, toes, it's going to be brutal as we get to actually see his toes being ripped out of his out of his feet. His fingers getting ripped out. Oh my, blood everywhere. Just his mental destruction. That one scene where Jason puts the centipede inside of his ear, it's going to be very brutal, as we're going to get to see Kaneki just laughing and crying and just hoping that he could die. You know what I'm saying? Just hoping he could go insane and just not have this experience happen to him anymore. We'd finally get our first glimpse of white-haired Kaneki. And bro, this dude Jason would just be going absolutely insane on my boy, just destroying him mentally, physically, just absolutely killing Kaneki, you know what I'm saying? Just destroying the bro. And so yeah, it'll be like a crazy just turn of events of this episode, where Kaneki at the end will get a culmination of realization of everything and finally accept his ghoul side, saying, I am a ghoul. After he says that, we'd get the iconic panel, adapted in full HD, adapted in full nice resolution, all the gore, his face literally falling out, his eyeball literally falling out, and him just saying, I'm a ghoul, like holding his face. Bro, this episode would move mountains. Move mountains. What I mean by move mountains, I mean like it would destroy records. Like it would go fucking insane if the animation was actually good. If it was adapted perfectly. If it was adapted by me, it would be fucking amazing. Like literally fucking amazing of an episode. It would be a crazy episode to, you know, end off episode 19 only. We still have 5 more episodes after this. But yeah, episode 20 would also be fucking insane, as we're gonna get to see the fucking that whole Jason versus Kaneki battle where he breaks out of his chains. The animation will be insane and the music will be insane. It'll be going in slow-mo. The cinematography will be crazy as they're fighting, and it's just going in slow-mo, out of slow-mo angles. You're gonna see the detail on every fucking attack. Bro, this fight will be literally peak fiction. Peak fiction, like throughout this episode. But also, we're going to get to see Team Anteku pulling up to the raid. We're also going to get to see the CCG talking about Kakujas. We're also going to get to see our first Kakuja in the form of Jason, where Kaneki just brutalizes him at the end of the episode, where it will end, where Kaneki literally tortures Jason on his own. And he's like, you know what? Fuck you. I'm going to leave you writhing in your pain. I'm not even going to finish you off. I don't want to be the one that kills your dirty ass. Fuck you. And he's just going to leave the room like that, with Jason's destroyed body and eating up Kagane. He's just going to leave just like that, ending episode 20. Now, episode 20 and episode 19 would be probably some of the best episodes in Tokyo Ghoul. Like, by far, the best episodes of this whole season. And it'll be literally surpassing expectations, as Madhouse and Production IG would break records, move mountains, with this amount of crazy animation, music. Could you imagine Kaneki, unleashing his Kagane while Jason unleashes his Kagane. They're just clashing with the choreography going crazy. Kaneki jumping in the air, going in slow-mo and attacking Jason. Bro, this shit could be fucking insane. Like, I want you guys to picture, whenever Kaneki fights with his Kagane, just picture, you know, when Spider-Man fights and shit, and he shoots his webs and his webs go in slow motion. That's what I'm talking about. Like, his webs could go in slow-mo, his Kagane could go in slow-mo, out of slow-mo, attack, choreography, slow-mo again. It'll be fucking insane. Literally insane. But yeah, 21, episode 20 and 19, peak. Episode 21 would start out with basically Kaneki breaking out of that torture zone, leaving Jason's body alive, and meeting up with Banjo and the gang. After he meets up with Banjo and the gang, Banjo would immediately notice, and the audience would really immediately notice, the drastic difference between Kaneki now and Kaneki before. Kaneki would be way more, like, less of an edgelord than he was in the original fucking anime. And in this anime, he'll actually be, like, kind of the same Kaneki around his friends, but he'll be very brutal when he's thinking about enemies. And you see in his eye expressions, his facial expressions, everything about him, he's just completely changed into a different person. But not completely, as with his friends, he's kind of the same. He tells Banjo he's going to protect everyone, and basically cut over to the CCG forging through the building. We also get to see Team Onteku forging through the building as Toka is just daydreaming about the Kaneki. She's like, please stay safe. And it's nice to see that Toka actually, over the short amount of time, has actually developed a bond with Kaneki. You know what I'm saying? It's just another kind of human that she viewed him as in the beginning, whereas now she actually cares for him and his safety, which is going to be a very nice development for her. But then her development would really, like, come to her daydream would come to an end, where she gets attacked and Nishio is forced to protect her. She runs into her brother Ayato. It'll cut over to the CCG as we're going to get one of the hypest introductions to a character in a while, as we see the owl for the first time in the anime. And I feel like this animation for this fight should be going fucking insane, as we'd have the owl pull up, and then the CCG investigators Shinohara and I forgot the other guy's name put on their fucking Arata suits and start gearing up to fight the owl. That would be hype. But just as the episode ends, we're going to cut over back to Toka fighting Ayato. And that'll be nice choreography and shit, but they're mainly going to be saving it for the next episodes. And so basically, Toka's end up gonna get defeated, and Ayato's gonna end the episode by eating her wings. Episode 22 would basically be the conflict between Ayato and his sister, where they basically fighting. The animation would be nice, and then while they're fighting, we'd also get a glimpse into their backstory, which I think would be very emotional. And we actually get to see where Toka comes from and where Ayato is coming from. You know what I'm saying? We get to see both characters' perspective in this fight and be able to agree with kind of both of them. But in the end, Toka will be getting her ass whooped and almost killed, where we'd get one of the best introductions in this fucking arc, where this dude Kaneki jumps in, protects Toka in front of her brother. He protects her. He's holding her. They're about to fight until the episode will go into the ending as Kaneki just bitches Ayato and tells him, I'm going to half kill you. The episode would end right there. Yeah, episode 23 is going to be fucking peak. Episode 23 will also be one of the best episodes of the season, where we get to see the fight between Kaneki and Ayato and the fight between the two Aratas and the owl, both happening simultaneously. Mostly, I want the first little bit of the episode to focus on the owl versus the Aratas fight with amazing choreography. I want the choreography to be her fucking sick, like just boom, 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 boom. Two swords versus one big ass monster. Who doesn't want to see that shit? With amazing animation, amazing gore, amazing cinematography. That shit is going to be peak, literal peak fiction right there. If that's not peak, I don't know what is. Anyways, we're going to get to go back for most of the episode to Kaneki's battle with Ayato, where we're going to learn Ayato's secret. Kaneki just absolutely bitching him. Like literally, like this is one of the best ass whoopings I've ever seen in manga history. And this dude Kaneki's gonna whoop him badly. And I just want to see how the anime is gonna it's gonna emphasize where Kaneki has Ayato pinned to the floor and he's breaking each one of his bones one by one while naming all of them. The manga didn't do this, but I would love it for Kaneki to be naming them, and we actually get to see him breaking every single one of them. Just snap, snap, snap. That shit will be fucking cold. And the episode would end on this crazy panel where Kaneki cracks his fingers, looks at the camera. We get a zoom out of Aito's actual state after this ass whoop. And then he says, does it hurt? No, I think Toka hurts more actually. No, this dude Kaneki did not do that, bro. This episode will be trending everywhere along with the I'm a Ghoul and, you know, adjacent fight episode. Those two episodes will be everywhere along with this one. Tokyo Ghoul will be fucking peak around this time, and it'll be going crazy as people will be starting to wonder what the hell can happen in the last episode of season 1. A conclusion to the season would be episode 24, where basically a lot of shit happened in this episode, but not too much shit where it overwhelms the fucking watchers. But basically it'll be like a conclusion episode where the arc will be wrapping up and we get to see most of these fights end, with the owl coming out victorious against these two investigators who are getting consumed by their Aruta because they don't have the power to control it. And so Kaneki's fight with Aito will be over. Noro will fight Tsukiyama, Uta, and Yomo, which will be a little like, you know, it'll be like a quick fight. Maybe like 2-3 minutes fight of Sakuga and nice animation. But eventually he'll be getting away. We'd also get to see Tatsura and Eto get away. And we'd also get to see their whole plan, basically how the main unit of the CCG attacked the hideout of Aogiri Tree, while the main unit of Aogiri Tree went to go free a lot of ghouls from Koklia, which is the ghoul detention center. And since all the CCG are at the hideout of Aogiri Tree, like most of the heavy hitters they have are there, Koklia was left unprotected, and so Aogiri Tree freed a lot of new ghouls and basically got a whole lot of new reinforcements, which is fucking crazy. Now, the episode would end where everyone would be meeting up at this one spot, and Kaneki would decide that, yeah, he's going by himself from now on. He's not coming back to Anteku, which would basically be a big plot twist, because I know in the original anime, he fucking ended up going to Aogiri. For some reason, he ended up going to Aogiri, which is retarded. So yeah, he ended up going all the way to freaking, you know, he'd make his own group with Tsukiyama and Banjo. And so we get to see how Kaneki basically wants to walk down his own path now. And he doesn't want to be, you know, like, kind of like his hand held by Anteku anymore. He says he can handle himself now. Toka asked him if she could go with him because she doesn't want to be alone. She doesn't want to leave Kaneki. She wants to be with Kaneki. But Kaneki's like, you know what? You want to live a normal human life. Me being in the ghoul world, I'll help you live a normal human life. So no, Toka, you go live your life. Stay out of this world. You know what I'm saying? So basically, the episode would basically end with Kaneki staring up at the moon. The same moon he was staring up against in episode 9 or 10 of this anime. And so he'll come to the same conclusion. He realized that, yeah, the world is still wrong. You know what I'm saying? Nothing has changed in my overall worldview. It's just I've gotten the strength to be able to change it now. You know what I'm saying? So basically, this dude Kaneki is going to end up going on his own path. Toka's also going to be going on her own path. And also in this episode, we would see Amon fight the Bin brothers and end up defeating them. That'll be a cool little fight as well, showing off his evolution ever since Mato died and just his ability to fight. And so yeah, that'll be the end of Tokyo Ghoul Season 1, ending at chapter 79 of the manga. Let me know what you guys think. Now, that was one long video that I know if you sat through all an hour and 3 minutes of that video, I give a huge thanks to you. I'm totally in your debt. Thank you so much for watching my video and making it all the way to the end. Please make sure to like and subscribe if you like this type of content. Depending on how this video does, I might as well go ahead and do the whole of Tokyo Ghoul just to see how, you know, if you're interested to see how I would do it in anime format, you know, there it is right there. But anyways, guys, I had a lot of fun making this video. I look forward to making a season 2 video if this one performs pretty well, or if I just feel like, fuck it, let me do it. But yeah, have a great day, guys. Bye-bye.